Hey everyone, Tactics here, and in this video I'll be going through my advanced encrypted routing guide here for Spires of Ascension. Of course, I'll be going through the MDT note. I'll link that down below as well if you want to import it for yourself. And I'll also run through one of my VODs of a high Spires key and kind of talk you through each of the pulls, where we're using CDs, offensive and defensive, how we're using the encrypted affix, and other important notes for you guys that you may need. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I'm doing all the Season 3 dungeons. A bunch are already out. The rest will be coming over the course of the next week, hopefully. And of course, I'll be doing this for Season 4 as well. So make sure you stay subscribed and you turn on notifications to be notified when all those videos get posted. Otherwise, let's start off here. Right with the beginning of the dungeon, the first big pull off the top, it's right at the entrance. So of course you do this big pull here. For something like Inspiring, I believe like this mob on the side is inspired, so we would CC it as we're running in. On fortified keys, we do lust this pull, but on tyrannical keys, we hold bloodlust for the last boss. So we pretty much just group them up like right around here because there's a double castigator. And you want to make sure you have 2 kicks or 1 shaman kick on the Goliath. And then you have at least 1 kick on each of the castigators. Focused on the major kick there, I believe Burden of Knowledge, I believe this one is. Because if that goes off and it's not dispelled within a few ticks, that player is likely dead. Otherwise, we just kind of layer on AoE CCs to get this pack down ASAP. Pull up. Normally, the Goliath is still partially alive, and we'll drag him into here. Sometimes he dies, sometimes he doesn't, but we'll chain him into the next pull. We've got the boss pull here, or just before the boss, and then the boss itself. And of course, again, Tyrannical, we're lusting. We then go left up here. There's an LOS spot just around the corner, and we tag all these mobs, group them up around this corner, cleave them down. Other side, similarly, knock these guys out of stealth, move them on top of the Praetor. Over here, just we do the 3-pack with the relic first, get that relic, and then move into this next double pull here. On fortified, Bloodlust usually lines up to be around this pack, and so that's when we'd lust after lusting on this first pull. On Tyrannical, of course, you lust on the boss, and that bloodlust will normally come up for the next boss. So that's kind of when you would use that. Otherwise here, make sure you're grabbing that spear, your Kyrian, and we go through, do this recovery pull here, get another buff, and then we go into the big pull here, which we do commit spear to, no bloodlust, just spear itself. Then we move and we shift around the edge here. This pack does have 1 stealth detector in the Praetor, so you can't stealth right through, but you can walk around the side when the pat is not like literally right where it's pictured right here. If it's down here or moving down here, then you can move along just fine. We'll then get to this pack, which we do not skip anymore. Of course, we're not running a rogue, but this can be a bit spooky, especially on fortified keys, so I do recommend maybe CCing the Praetor on higher fortified keys and just breaking that CC once you kill that squad leader, who of course does have that damage reduction aura, so it's not like you're losing too much damage by keeping that mob CC'd the whole time, but you do drastically decrease the tank damage, so that's important. Moving into the second boss, of course go across, and we skip over here. This skip can be done without anything. You don't need Mind Soothe on this mob to skip it. You can just run up here, or jump over the lantern thing that's right here and run around. Here, to get up to the top left side like we do, you do need a lock gate. You can lock gate from like down here on the stairs to up here on the little railing, and that works just fine. You can, if you don't have access to a lock gate, you can jump up to the right side here and go this way instead. But I prefer pulling this 4-pack to this 4-pack. I just think it's a lot safer, even though it does have a Hellion in it. Because the big thing here is you have all CDs for this pack, right? Because you just spent about 1.5 minutes running from the boss to here. So like everyone has CDs available for this pull. So you get it. It's relatively safe. Moving on, we do pull this pack. We LOS over here. The main thing is you can here, like I mentioned, you can soothe the 2 leftmost usurpers, and then you can run right by them if you hug the left here without aggroing them. Just be careful because pets will aggro them, as you'll see in the video. We then come to Orifrian, and then upstairs, and usually a single angel pull, especially on fortified weeks. If you're running low on time and tyrannical week, you can pull off a double angel, but these guys are scary, so be very, very careful. If you have the time, definitely single angel pull. All right, let's hop into the VOD now here. We're at the end already. Here we go. Check speed, 1, good. Oops. All right. So first pull, grouped up. Let's rewind it a bit. So no inspired, of course, so we're just grouping everything together here. We have 1 kick assigned to each castigator's big ability, and then 2 to the Goliath because we don't have a shaman. Of course, the shaman kick can solo it. Fortified weak, so we are popping lust here, keeping the frontals pointed away. And also, we did have a burden go off here. We were lucky it went on the tank, so it's not a big deal. We also accidentally got woe. So things can go wrong here a lot, so just be careful. Try not to get woe because it adds a kick that you don't have. Be very, very careful with that. I mean, we're going through here, managed to recover fine because angel form. And now we're super fast with woe. So, you know, planned. The 3-pack is pretty uneventful. We'll skip past it, and we just jump on the angel afterwards. And we just pull this pack all together here. Similar idea, we would definitely prefer to get an here. And we have 2 kicks on the Goliath, and we have the other 2 kicks on this Castigator, only using stops on the Mender heal there. We're also purging the Mender, but also the Mender is like the least important purge target. So there's like 3 different ads that put that weapon buff on. It's like the Mender, there's a Warden, and there's one more I can't remember the name of right now. But the Mender is definitely the least important in terms of both the damage it does to the tank and the damage it provides when you pick up the weapon buff. Because again, if you're not familiar, whenever you purge those weapons, it puts an object on the ground that the first person who runs over gets like a weapon buff. So the Mender is the least relevant in terms of both damage taken and damage done, so keep that in mind. Moving on here to boss. This boss is pretty uneventful. Like I said, on Tyrannical, you would lust this. The major thing is just always watching that bird, because sometimes, you know, he will shoot while flying. Sometimes he will spin at the last second and do weird things. So always, always, always keep an eye on that bird right there, because that's what's going to kill you. So that's my one major piece of advice for this boss. Otherwise, it's a pretty straightforward, not really scary boss at all. You know, it does tank damage that's very predictable as long as you have something covering the overhead slashes. On a fortified key, you're not really in danger. Like you can take you can be absolutely naked on those slashes and not die. On Tyrannical, you need to want to make sure you have something every time, or at least some way to recover every time. But for the most part, not super difficult to deal with. And like I said, the only thing that's going to kill you really on this boss, besides running through the boss beam, is this bird and these orbs. So just watch him at all times, because he's a little tricky one. He's a tricky one. All right, but then we move on from this boss. And let's move up the stairs here to the side. All right, boss dies. And we move up the stairs. I believe this one also went a bit weird. I think they jumped early or something, earlier than we expected. But basically what we would do, I'm tagging everything, and I'm running into this corner here where everyone already is. And normally we would drop the ring like right behind them, but I think they jump early. So I think someone maybe stepped out. Yeah, so that one jumps early and then they do weird things in this ring. So that's not ideal. Ideally, they're in this corner, but now you're going to see how we have to recover. We try and get back in the corner, but they're at a weird angle there. And they're not really coming, so we have to LOS in a different spot. And now the one's kind of out of the group, so I run back in to stop these guys from hurling, right? Because they will hurl if no one's in melee. If I'm in melee of them, they won't hurl, right? So that's the goal, is to try and be in melee of the biggest group of skirmishers if it ever goes crazy. Like normally, if they don't like bug out in the ring or they don't jump early, we're fine. So that's the main thing. You can ring to do that. You can AoE stun to do that. Like you drop an AoE stun right here. Before they jump away insta. And here, now you're just going to see, like, we're going to try and LOS here. We swing into this circle, have the other person swing that way, and then this will finally group up that last lone skirmisher that's kind of been out there. So the dangerous thing, right, is I can't step away from my group of 3 skirmishers to go try and get that last skirmisher, because that would kill way more people. And that's kind of the decision you have to make in the moment on this pack in particular. If it ever does weird things, you need to stay near the biggest pack of skirmishers so they don't start hurling on random targets. If there's ever a guy out there, you know, single targets done and try and get everyone to an LOS spot so that they regroup up. But we're able to recover actually pretty well here. That was really bad. Like them jumping early was really, really bad. Like this pull can look insanely clean. Like this would already be dead because it would be all stacked up. They'd be stuck here and no one would be taking any damage besides me. Or it can look like that. So, you know, We don't always get the clean pulls, but just that's how you would recover if it goes a little bit haywire. If we then move across here, that's all the good trash on this side. So we then move on to all the stealth guys. This can all be like flared out, AoE'd out. We don't have a bop to like run through everything, so I just am thrashing and swiping to try and pull it out before they stun me, because that would be bad. And then I just drag it on top of the Praetor here. And again, a lot of this pull is spent kind of kiting once I'm out of my initial CDs here. We'll do things like sweeps. I'll run right back out to when this Praetor jumps. But again, this Praetor will always jump to range, so you can have your range stand a little bit closer. So we like sweep. We have binding shot, which is super strong for this pull and a lot of other pulls like this. And I just stand just out of range, doing my AoE abilities, that kind of thing. And pretty much you don't really want to go back into this pack too often. So we just kind of chain CCs, and you see I'm just kind of kiting past it. And tar trap down. And I like pretty much never go back in here at this point. No real reason to. And that way too, you don't need to really commit many defensive CDs to that pack. So you save them for that big pack that we're doing with Lust very, very soon. So here, again, we're going to get and that's mostly for your offensive CDs to be back up for your DPSers. In this pack for that Lust pack. So we're still a minute off Lust, right? We're still a little bit behind. We're going a little bit fast for this key level, damage-wise. But we're not going to have Lust exactly where we want it. But we're going to go ahead with the pull anyways. Again, this 3-pack, not super eventful. 1 Praetor, try and be in melee with it so it doesn't chain cast you. And we move into this pack. Still 25 seconds off of Lust. And we just group them up. 2 kicks assigned to each Goliath. Or, of course, 1 Shaman again and 2 kicks to the other, whatever you've got. We try and finish off this old Praetor and then group up the rest. And, yeah, pretty straightforward pull. Just hit your Goliath kicks. Watch the Praetor dam. Do what you can. Nothing too complicated. It's basically just a 4-kick pull, essentially. 4-kick pull with pretty heavy tank damage, because the Goliaths melee pretty hard, and the Praetors hit the tank pretty hard. So just be aware you're going to take that. We just lusted whenever we got it here, which is pretty late in the pull, unfortunately, but it is what it is. It's fine. I move on here. Make sure you grab the spear over on the side. Right there. Moving forward, and we come to another recovery pull right here. And this is because, again, we're doing another big pull right after this. So we commit 1 minute to this pack. Just because it'll be up for sure, because we're also killing in this pack. And we make sure that we have 2 minutes still for that next big pull. Also, if you notice here, the pet is actually taunting here to take the debuff so that I don't get a damage taken increased debuff. A little cheeky thing hunters can do there. You make a macro to taunt So now we've got the Skirmisher dead. We're waiting for the lineup of this pack with the other padding birds. And you see it's coming now. And we move in. They're all stacked up. Group them all up nicely. Drop the arrow. Pop CDs. And this pack just will kind of melt. Braun doing a little bit of trolling there as well. And the major thing is just make sure you still have 2 people assigned to the Goliath and someone assigned to the Inquisitor big kick as well. Because the first kick for the Inquisitor, usually out of that Spear CC, is going to be that big one. And of course, if the Goliath isn't dead, he's also going to start casting. So just make sure you have those kicks still assigned and ready to go, in case everything is not dead in the Spear. And of course, on higher key levels, it's not going to be dead, right? It's still going to be alive, but it'll be mostly dead. We're also going to get, I'll show you that little skip here. On the side, you don't even need invis pots, anything like that. You can just straight up walk right past the pat. Just hug the right side here, and this is the perfect spot. And you just go, and as long as you have some sort of move speed, I believe like mount is like the default one. You're mounted, you can just straight run, jump off, and that's far enough to get you to the next platform. You don't actually need any other kind of speed, just straight up mount up, jump. That's it. Then we have this pack, which again, we CC the Praetor for this pull. It's a pretty high fort key, and it just does a lot of tank damage. And of course, I committed my major defensive CD to the previous pull, and that's not something that I really am able to survive at this moment in terms defensively able to survive, right? So pull these guys. We have all our kicks assigned to the Inquisitor here. Purging on the champion. That's the kind of scary weapon. You want to make sure you get insta. Don't recommend sitting in the puddle like that, otherwise your health goes low and you almost die. And then basically the prior target here is the squad leader. Everything else is taking reduced damage. And then once that squad leader dies, you're going to see me add in this Praetor. But just watch these Crusaders strike again. I should have sidestepped that strike. It almost kills me again. I'm able to recover, but be very, very careful. Try not to sit in these puddles for too long. Try not to point the squad leader at anyone, and make sure you're still sidestepping that squad leader so you're not eating it yourself. And then, yeah, once this dies, I'll recommit Incarn as well, I believe, just to make sure I live. Because, again, this next boss is not really a problem at all. And, you know, add the Praetor in here when the squad leader is almost dead, and I've been able to recommit, and we're good. And now we're basically just recovering, and we're stable now. And that's basically how this pull works on a high 4 key. On a high tier key, you maybe pull it all at once because it's a lot less dangerous, but also, I mean, you can probably also get away with CCing the Praetor, because look how high, like, the Praetor's not that much higher, and realistically, like, you can drag this Praetor into the boss fight, right? Like, that's something you totally can do, because this boss does absolutely nothing to your tank. Even on Tyrannical, like, your tank is never in danger on this boss fight. But yeah, so for this boss fight, the main thing is your range alternating defensive CDs as needed and not overcommitting, right? That's a big thing. Is a lot of people I see, they either don't pop defensive CDs when they have this big bleed on them, and that's the one where Ventunax jumps out here, this one, or they just commit way too many CDs, and then the next one will kill them because they have nothing left. So it's really just, you need to commit as little as you can to still survive. Because, again, we have 2 range, so it's always going to be on one of those 2. Of course, a warrior can, I believe, intervene a ranged target to yoink it, which is also really good, but you don't really see too many warriors right now. But just know you can do that. But it's a very scary bleed, and of course these orbs at this point are just pretty much death, right? Obviously not for a tank, but for everyone else, they're pretty much death. You want to be very, very, very careful of the orb. I believe this is just like the bleed at the end, because that's always the more dangerous one as well. The second hit, the second bleed of every phase is more dangerous because it leads into that that intermission phase, whatever it's called, when all the orbs are flying around way faster as well, and you may need to move, etc. So just that is the main point on this boss. Otherwise, like, he does no tank damage. Like, my health is like not really moving. I press Maul a bunch on this fight. For those wondering about Maul scenarios, this boss for sure is a Maul scenario. You can Maul, like, you can probably spend like 0 rage on Ironfur and be just fine. But yeah, that's this boss. Not too much to talk about there. And then, like I said, you have about 1.5 minutes from killing this boss, jumping up on this angel, to getting to the next pack. And we'll do our little run. Oh, I'm already here. We grab spear, and I'll show you the little run. I do it first. I'm stealth though, so I go around. They're getting cookies, drinking, and then getting ready to go as well. We soothe this for safety. You don't need to soothe it. If you don't soothe it, though, you have to jump over this lantern, not really run around. You have a lot less leeway, so just be careful of that. Note it. They set up the gate. I just run around because I'm in stealth. I don't need to be in the gate, but they set it up right there. So you see the gate right behind me. Right there. Gate from there to there. And they run over. I think we're just waiting for... I think he might need a few seconds for CD or something. And we just have kicks assigned again. This is a 3-kick pack. There's a heal on both these wardens, and then the big kick on the Justicar. And also making sure to purge these wardens, because this is another dangerous weapon. These are real dangerous weapons. You want to make sure you purge it ASAP. And this is like literally all CDs are popped. This is also on a fortified key where we would want to lust. But the fact that we were moving too early, right? Basically, if everything was desynced by 30 seconds, like if we had 30 extra seconds, that second lust would have been on time, and that would have made this lust on time. But I guess you kind of need 1 key level up for our damage to kind of get those, maybe to get the right timings on Bloodlust. But on a forward key, again, this is where we would want to Lust. And you'll see here, since we don't have Lust up for this pack, we actually just burn an entire Lust because we save it until we actually need it on the last Angel. Because otherwise you just die to the last Angel. So on a fort week, a high fort week, you really, really want to Lust that big Angel, that final Angel on the upstairs platform. So if you end up scuffing a Lust to do that, you scuff the Lust. You'd much rather have the Lust for that Angel. Accidentally kill Vi here. Don't do that. Don't do that. Make sure you get her. Vi adds a lot of extra danger to this pack that does not need to be there. That's already a pretty high rate or high party damage, dangerous pack. So you don't need to focus on Vi at the same time. And so here's the Mindsuit skip I talk about. We get trolled by bronze. We forget to dismiss our bronze. We have like 2 bronze out, and they end up pulling this pack while we're running by it. So just be aware, bronze will do that. Other pets may do it as well. So Mindsuit, dismiss your pets and then run by. You can see there, like, we get by, and then the bronze run by, and then they aggro, and then people start dying here, because these spears hurt. But you would LOS here, and then you would have, like, someone, like I would tag one of these with Moonfire and run around this, is what would have happened. Instead, 2 people die, and we just kill these. We kill it, we res, we get ready for boss. And for this boss in particular, so we just use this straight line here, pull them back a bit. And there's 2 things I want to note on this fight specifically. So first, the Relic. We save until the first burn phase because we have a bunch of DPS specs that highly gain a big benefit basically in their CDs and in their damage window of having available. So they're they're potting, they're having all CDs available for that first burn. And that's very, very ideal. You are able to pop 1 minute on pull, by the way. This first phase is about 1 minute long. And we're just kind of seeing, like, we're stacking all these orbs here, and you're going to see the diffuse tech on the next stomp here in a second. Right before the phase is when you want to do it. If you're able to stand on your tank and diffuse the dot back onto the boss, it does a ton of damage in the burn phase. You see the monk is standing on me. He diffuses the dot back in during the damage amp phase. We kill and we have the buff for the damage amp, and they just go wild. They go absolutely wild. I'm soaking this entire first set here in Incarn. I run back, pick these up quickly. And so I'm an Incarn. I'm pretty safe for this. You can also commit immunities to do stuff like this, right? Bubble, turtle, cloak, those kind of things. You can commit to soak either 5 or maybe even 10 sometimes if you time it correctly of those orbs. And we probably would do that on like a tyrannical week. We'd probably commit, the DPSer to soak half of 1 set of orbs. We might do that here actually as well. Let's actually fast forward a little bit, see. Note that you can stand inside this boss's hitbox to make him stomp more. You don't want to do that in the first phase because otherwise he pushes way too fast and 1 minute CDs don't have time to come back. But if you see here, I'm actually going to step, I'm stepping in the storming. I back up out of the hitbox when the stomp is casting so I don't actually stomp the melee. But you see, and then I'm stepping into the hitbox here. And you can trigger stomps more often by doing that. Stepping around, probably going to stomp out of this, yep. And we're basically just trying to push this phase as quickly as possible. And again, we get the stomp where the Windwalker has diffused back, so he's going to stand on me for this stomp. He popped flash just before so he wouldn't get murdered. Diffuses right onto it. Yeah, I soak the first 5, and I think we do turtle the second 5. Yeah. So we do end up turtling these last debuffs. Just runs, he quickly soaks them. We didn't need to, though, because the boss died. But on Tyrannical Week, you would definitely want to do that. Just pull the last set of usurpers to make sure you have count. Then we just fly up. And again, this is a especially high fort. Single angel, for sure. You do not want to risk the double angel on this. It is, especially high fort, it's insanely scary. If you're pushed for time and it's Tyrannical Week, go ahead and give it your best shot. But even then, it's a little scary. And if you have the time, like we clearly do, you definitely want a single angel pull. Always middle, left, right for your angels, because that's the easiest set of debuffs. The spear is a giant pain in the ass. For those of you that don't know how it works, I'll show you. The cases doesn't do much. He's just a debuff. Nothing really happens. So the spear, it's going to go down, and it's going to draw a line between the spear and the boss. So that's where it's going to be. So you know exactly that's the lineup. As you see, you're going to see the line go out in the exact spot. If you draw, as soon as it goes down, you see, as soon as it went down, I'll back up again to kind of explain. All right, it landed. You draw a line from the spear to the boss. The boss that threw the spear, obviously. So in this case, it's Stronos. That's where the cardinal directions are from on the spear, because it shoots in cardinal directions, but it first draws a line, and that's one of the directions. So then you know where the others are. So then we move slightly off of that so that we are in a safe spot. And it shoots out exactly like that. And it does that for every spear. So you can kind of put them in positions where you know where the shots are going to be, and we know exactly where it's safe. We could probably do a better job of baiting, but it's not the end of the world, and that's how the spears work. It's still a giant pain. It's still very spooky. Yeah. The big thing here, again, is always that third angel, and that's why we've saved Lust. We've saved a spear here on Fortified Week. All CDs are going to be popped on that angel. It's just exceptionally scary to deal with this final one, because it has literally, it has the damage amp, has the dot, has the spears going down. This is still Stronos. I mean, we even wait for CDs to be, like, we were sitting there and waiting for a little bit to make sure everything is up and available, and we just pop everything on pull. We blast as hard as we can, and you're gonna even see, like, even near the end of this, it gets very, very sketchy. Boss will also jump away as well, so just be careful. It makes positioning this boss a little bit more weird, because it jumps straight front of them, does the frontal, and puts some puddles on the ground, so you kind of have to move a lot more than you would want to. Overall, just a bit spooky. We also save touch for this guy because, again, very, very spooky. That's like one of the scariest pulls in the entire dungeon, honestly. And it's just one mob. Like, if that, like, it doesn't look too scary there because we killed it cleanly, but trust me, like, if you don't kill that mob fast, you run into problems very, very quickly. It's one of those pulls, again, where it either looks super clean like that, or it can look super insanely messy. Everyone's dead, you kill it with one person alive kind of deal, right? Like, it's very scary, or you wipe to it even, right? So be careful with that. Overcommit rather than undercommit. It is my advice for that angel. Here we have run through. We always try and bait towards this side. So it's a little far. We hadn't pulled quite enough. And I always try and tank Devos in like the top end of this. Try to bait that away from the party. Then we have these debuffs. So this is one of those situations where Warlock is exceptionally OP. Because usually you can only dispel one of these. But Warlocks have a magic dispel. So now we can dispel both. You just see people run out, they get dispelled, and very, very simple. You don't have one person taking big ticking damage. I also do think we probably should have killed faster here. But that's okay. Because he's just a bit annoying to kind of have in these circles. And deal with these run-throughs and all that stuff. I think we should have killed faster. Like, probably before that second detonation for sure, instead of right here. This boss... Notice again, we're super dry, right? Like, this boss has so much health, and then pushing already into P2. For those that don't know, in P1 here, Devos will only do 2 detonations, and then she will just push, no matter what health she's at. Whether you got her to, I believe the actual push is 70%. So if you got her to 70% or not, she'll auto push. So just be aware of that. That third explosion doesn't ever happen in this phase. Just, you know, spread out, collect the spears pretty quick. I believe we also, I don't know if we mass dispel this. You can mass dispel this off for way less taking damage. We were very low stacks though, so it's not really a big deal. Also not Tyrannical Week. You'd probably want to mass dispel that on Tyrannical Week. But then same deal. We're just aiming run-throughs here for as little distance gone as possible for melee so they can have decently high uptime. And from here, it's just rinse and repeat, right? We like pop CDs as we get them. Oh, in terms of bloodlusting on a tyrannical week, I think there's probably a level on tyrannical where you still lust that third angel. But what you can also do on tyrannical is you can lust Orifrion, the third boss, during that first Erd phase. Because again, you would lust on the first boss, the second boss, and then about a minute into the third boss. So that's where your lust could kind of be. And then that would let you lust, I believe, in this second phase on Davos is when your lust would come up as well. Otherwise, like I said, on Fort weeks, you would lust, what's it called? You would lust the first bull, the double Goliath pull, double pull, after the first boss. You would lust that Hellion pull before the third boss, and then you would lust the final angel pull here as well. Killing Devos. Is there much else to talk about this? I don't think there's really too much. Just try and bait your run throughs. This one's a bit off, and you see Devil's just going to go super far. So that's kind of the difference between a good bait where she like stops right here and then comes right back, and melee don't really have to move very much to have good uptime, versus like a bait like over to here, for example, like you would just have pretty bad uptime. I try and step out of the circle there for the dispel, and that's what you do when people have dispels and you have a double dispel comp with a warlock in it. Just to make sure those people with dispels kind of have a second or two to move, and then they get dispelled. But otherwise, that is Spires of Ascension. As always, if you guys have any questions at all, feel free to leave them down below, or you can come stop by my Twitch channel at Tactics, where I stream all my high keys from Guardian Druid POV. So, that's at Tactics again on Twitch. So feel free to come by, and I'll do my best to answer any questions you guys have. Otherwise, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it. Again, I'll be doing videos like this, and I have done a bunch of videos like this already for all the Season 3 dungeons. And of course, I'll be putting out similar videos for the Season 4 dungeons, so keep an eye out for those. Otherwise, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.